Hey, welcome back, guys. So we're going to automate logging into Zoom's sign-in page. So let's just go to Zoom, and you can click the sign-in button, and let's take a look at this input field. So I'm just going to zoom in. So let's open up our dev console, and let's take a look. All right, so you always want to use the input field or the tag of input. So this one doesn't have an ID. Oh, it does actually, just email. Okay, perfect. We probably could use this class name, but since it has an ID, we'll just use that. And then let's look at the next button. Perfect, it does have an ID. So we have found the two selectors that we need. So now let's go ahead and create the page object that represents this screen. So let's go to Visual Studio. And so guys, get comfortable with switching your theme. So I've been using the dark theme, but let's use the light theme. So you get used to seeing the keywords in different colors. So you don't want to get confused or try to memorize what it looks like based on the color of the keyword. So all right, let's grab our variable page. Zoom in. Let's copy this guy. And we're going to name the variable page after the screen we're trying to automate. So we'll call this Zoom login page. And then we will make sure you change your class to match the file name. Well, the class needs to be a unique name. And your constructor needs to match your class's name. All right. So now let's go ahead and add our elements here. So we're going to make two elements, and we're going to make two pairs that represent our elements. We're going to have our object type of by, and then our object type of iWebElement. So we're going to do this email or phone number input field first, and then we're going to go ahead and add the ID as email. So let's change this by XPath to ID, put the email, and the name of element here, we'll just say that this is email or phone number by. I'm appending by the object type, and we'll go ahead and pass that in to the driver.find element, and then we'll name this something similar, but we'll append the element at the end of it. So let's copy this and do basically the same thing for the next button. So we're just going to grab this sign in button next, ID. I like to copy it because sometimes the attribute values can have spaces in them, so you want to make sure that you just copy it because it can be tricky to see. So let's go ahead and paste that, and then we'll give this a name of next button by, and we'll put that in place of the iWebElement, and we'll do the same thing, put that as element. Okay, let's give this method a meaningful name like login, and we will first wait for the email or phone number by, and then we're going to need to send keys to the email or phone number element. Okay, and then we'll do send, because I'm zoomed in so much, send keys. Okay, so we need to parameterize this method here. So make sure you add a string, and you'll call it email or phone number. And then we're going to pass that string in as an argument to our sendKeys method. And then finally, we just want to click the next button. So let's go ahead and, you know, I can just copy this and we'll change this. Okay, so we're going to wait for the next button, and then we are going to click the next button element. So next button element, which is referencing this one. It really only needs to look like this. Make sure, and you know, I even suggested to change the selector path. You know, use a different type, a different attribute. That wasn't necessary. We just needed to make sure that this matches that. So very important, make sure your selector path is proper inside of your driver.find element. I'm going to copy and paste it, and we'll give it a name. Zoom login test. Okay. And we want to change our class name. Okay, so we do need to pull in the Zoom login page, and we'll call it Zoom login page. Okay, so down here we need to create a new instance of the object, because if you try to reference it, you'll throw an error. So Zoom login page is equal to a new Zoom login page, and then you're going to pass in the driver. And so now we want to give the test a meaningful name. So we'll call it or we'll call it Zoom login test. Well, okay, you can't have the method name the same name as the class. So, I mean, you could change, you know, a character, but we'll call it log into Zoom. Okay, so we're gonna need the Zoom sign-in URL. But before we do that, guys, you should check out our school community. We go into a lot more detail. So here is where you would paste the Zoom sign-in link. And so instead of using this line here, we're going to actually use a common method shared on the base page. So we're going to say Zoom login page, and we're going to grab the navigation method, and then we're going to pass in the URL so we can get rid of this. Okay, so then next we want to grab the actual method that's responsible for the login. So just log in. But before that, we do need to pass in what our username or phone number is. So, or excuse me, it was email or phone number. So I'll use a phone number, just a fake one. Actually, no, Zoom is smart enough to know that that's not going to work. All right, I'm going to just make something up, guys. So, 561. Okay. All right, so now let's just pass in that phone number, but let's just try to run it again. In fact, actually, we might try that next. Here, while this is still thinking, let's go ahead and add this. Let's see what that does. There we go. Look at that. It clicked the next button. Perfect.